July 5, 1943. Dawn breaks over the Russian steppe near the city of Kursk. The ground trembles, not from an earthquake, but from the largest concentration of armored vehicles ever assembled in human history, over 6,000 tanks. 2 million men, 4,000 aircraft, all converging on a single battlefield. The Germans call it Operation Citadel, their last chance to regain the initiative on the Eastern Front. Hitler has bet everything on this offensive. The newest, most powerful tanks Germany has ever built. Tiger tanks, Panther tanks, Ferdinand tank destroyers, unstoppable steel monsters. But the Soviets know they're coming, and they've prepared the most elaborate defensive system in military history. Over 3,000 miles of trenches, 500,000 mines, anti-tank guns positioned in depth, and their own massive tank reserves waiting to counterattack. This is the Battle of Kursk, the greatest tank battle ever fought. The moment Germany's armored might shattered against Soviet steel and determination, the battle that decided the fate of the Eastern Front. And it all happens in just 2 weeks. To understand Kursk, we need to rewind to early 1943. After the disaster at Stalingrad, the German army is reeling. The Soviets are advancing, reclaiming territory. The myth of German invincibility is shattered. But the Eastern Front stabilizes in the spring. The Rasputitsa, the seasonal mud that makes movement impossible, forces both sides to pause. And when the mud dries, the front line has a massive bulge around the city of Kursk. A salient, a bulge in the line, stretching 150 miles north to south and jutting 100 miles into German-held territory. To German strategists, this bulge is an opportunity, a classic pincer attack. Strike from the north and south, cut off the salient, trap hundreds of thousands of Soviet troops, restore German prestige, regain the initiative. Hitler is obsessed with the idea. He delays the offensive again and again, waiting for new weapons. He wants the new Panther tanks, the massive Tiger tanks, the Ferdinand tank destroyers mounting 88mm guns. These super weapons will crush the Soviets, but every delay gives the Soviets more time to prepare. And the Soviets know everything. British intelligence breaks German codes and shares information. Soviet spies penetrate the German high command. The Lucy spy ring in Switzerland provides detailed intelligence. The Soviets know where the attack will come, when it will come, even the exact units involved. Marshal Georgy Zhukov, the man who saved Moscow and crushed Stalingrad, convinces Stalin of a radical strategy. Let the Germans attack. Bleed them against prepared defenses. Then when they're exhausted, launch massive counteroffensives and destroy them. The Soviets turn the Kursk salient into a fortress. Not just one defensive line, but 8 successive lines stretching back over 100 miles. Each line has trenches, bunkers, anti-tank guns, artillery positions, minefields. The statistics are staggering. Over 400,000 mines laid, 20,000 artillery pieces positioned, 3,600 anti-tank guns, every village fortified, every hill topped with guns, tank traps, wire obstacles, kill zones carefully measured and registered for artillery. Hundreds of thousands of civilians and soldiers dig. For months, the earth itself becomes a weapon, and behind the defensive lines, the Soviets mass their reserves, the steppe front, 500,000 men and 1,500 tanks, ready to counterattack. The Germans mass their forces, Army Group South under Field Marshal von Manstein, Army Group Center under Field Marshal von Kluge, the elite SS Panzer Corps, the newest Panthers, fresh from the factory. Tigers with their 88mm guns that can kill any Soviet tank at range. July 4th, 1943, the eve of battle, over 1 million German soldiers wait in their positions. 2 million Soviet soldiers man their defenses. Everyone knows tomorrow the world explodes. At 2:20 a.m. on July 5th, the Soviets fire a massive preemptive artillery barrage, hitting German assembly areas. It's not decisive, but it's a message. We know you're coming. The Battle of Kursk has begun. July 5th, 1943, 5:30 a.m. The Northern Pincer begins. General Walter Model's 9th Army, over 300,000 men and 900 tanks, attacks southward toward Kursk. The assault opens with a massive artillery barrage. Then the panzers roll forward, Tigers, Panthers, Ferdinand tank destroyers. the newest, heaviest armor Germany has. And immediately they hit the minefields. Explosions rip through the formations. Tanks lose tracks. Infantry gets pinned down. The advance slows to a crawl. Then Soviet artillery opens up, registered on every approach, every road, every gap in the minefields. Shells rain down. Anti-tank guns positioned in depth start firing, not scattered but concentrated. 5, 6, 7 guns targeting each German tank. The Germans push forward, meter by meter. The Tigers and Panthers are effective. Their guns can kill Soviet T-34s at range. But there are so many Soviet tanks, and the terrain is broken up by the defenses. Range advantage means nothing when you're fighting at 100 meters. The fighting centers on a small railway station called Ponyri, an insignificant place on the map, but it controls a crucial road junction. For a week, Germans and Soviets fight house to house, track to track, position to position. The village changes hands multiple times. German infantry supported by Tigers push in Soviet counterattacks with waves of T-34s push them out. Artillery reduces everything to rubble, and still the fighting continues. After 6 days of brutal combat, Model's 9th Army has advanced barely 10 miles. They've lost hundreds of tanks, thousands of men. They've penetrated the 1st and 2nd Soviet defensive lines, but there are 6 more lines behind them, and Soviet reserves are moving up. By July 10th, the northern offensive is effectively stalled. Model can't break through. The Soviets are feeding in reserves faster than he can destroy them. The northern pincer has failed. But in the south, things are different. The southern pincer is stronger. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, arguably Germany's best general, commands Army Group South. He has more tanks, including the elite SS Panzer Corps with the 2nd SS Panzer Corps under Paul Hauser. Over 1,500 German tanks and assault guns, including entire battalions of Tigers and Panthers. This is the tip of the spear. July 5th, the southern assault begins, and initially it's more successful than the north. Von Manstein's forces are more concentrated, better coordinated. The terrain is slightly more favorable. The Germans smash through the 1st Soviet defensive line, punch into the 2nd. The SS Panzer Corps, with 3 elite divisions, Leibstandarte, Das Reich, and Totenkopf, drives like a wedge into the Soviet defenses. By July 11th, they've advanced over 20 miles, reached the small town of Prokhorovka. One more push, and they might break through the final defensive line. But the Soviets are ready. General Pavel Rotmistrov's 5th Guards Tank Army, over 800 tanks, is positioned near Prokhorovka. And Marshal Vatutin, commanding the Voronezh front, orders them to counterattack, stop the Germans here, whatever the cost. July 11th night, both sides prepare. The Germans know Soviet reinforcements have arrived, but they don't know the full scale. The Soviets know they're outnumbered in quality. German Tigers and Panthers are superior tanks, but they have numbers and desperation. 8:30 a.m., Rotmistrov's tanks surge forward, not in careful formations, in mass. Hundreds of T-34s charging at full speed toward the SS positions. The Soviet plan is brutal but brilliant. Close the range. Tigers and Panthers dominate at long range with their superior guns and armor. But at close range in a chaotic melee, that advantage disappears. The battlefield becomes hell, over 1,500 tanks fighting across a space of maybe 10 square miles. No room for maneuver. No sophisticated tactics, just steel smashing against steel. Tigers fire into the massive Soviet tanks, each shot a kill. But there are so many T-34s. They swarm the German positions, get in close where they can penetrate Tiger armor. Ram damage tanks, use their mobility. The fighting is so intense that tanks collide with each other. Turrets are blown completely off tanks. Ammunition cooks off inside burning hulls. The air is thick with smoke, dust, and the smell of burning fuel and flesh. Soviet tactics are simple. Get close, fire at point-blank range, keep moving, accept catastrophic losses but overwhelm the Germans with sheer numbers. By the end of the day, the battlefield is a graveyard. Hundreds of burning tanks. The fields are littered with destroyed vehicles, dead crews, smoking craters. Soviet losses are catastrophic. Estimates vary, but around 300 to 400 tanks destroyed. Thousands of men killed. Some units are effectively annihilated. German losses are smaller in absolute numbers, maybe 80 to 100 tanks destroyed. But those losses are irreplaceable. Each Tiger, each Panther represents resources Germany can't afford to lose. Most importantly, the Germans are stopped. Prokhorovka isn't a clear victory for either side. It's a mutual bloodbath. But strategically, it's a Soviet success because the German offensive is blunted, von Manstein can't break through, and time is running out.